This is The Competitive Edge with Ted Allen. Welcome to The Competitive Edge. My name is Scott Britton, and I'm here to help you answer a question that we all have. How can I get an edge in my business and life? Each week, we're going to uncover how some of the most successful and inspiring entrepreneurs, entertainers, and thought leaders get an edge so you too can reach your full potential. Thanks for tuning in today. Now let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Competitive Edge. Today's episode is about grit, determination, and perseverance. We're going to hear from Ted Allen, who started Access America Transport. You probably haven't heard of this company before because it's in the trucking and logistics industry. A lot of the entrepreneurs that come on here are software guys from New York or Silicon Valley, but today's guest built a $500 million business in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And the way that he did it was just by sheer determination and effort. You're going to hear what having a never say die attitude is all about in this interview when Ted shares some of his stories about the sales tactics, about the cold calls that he's made, about chasing people down at truck stops. I mean, this guy is a total savage, and the interview is awesome and inspiring. We're also going to hear about Ted's newest transition with the Lamppost Group, his venture capital firm and accelerator, and a little bit about what he looks for in entrepreneurs and people looking to build companies. If you're looking for some motivation, if you're in a rut, if you want to just see how someone wills themselves to be successful, you're going to want to tune into this interview. It's absolutely awesome. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hear from Ted Allen. Ted, I'm just really excited to be chatting today because, like I mentioned before the call, not only did I hear some previous interviews where you're quoting college football coaches and things that I really like, but you also built a $500 million company in a non-sexy industry in a short period of time. And I feel like a lot of these podcasts, they have the same guests where people are building marketing tools in Silicon Valley or New York or other things. And you built this badass company in Tennessee in the trucking industry. So you just sold the company 3 weeks ago, but let's talk about the early days. And why don't we first just start off actually by telling everybody exactly what Access America Transport is.
Okay, perfect. So I started Access America Transport 12 years ago with my two best friends from college. And we went to school at Samford University in Birmingham. And we always knew we kind of wanted to start a business together. And right out of school, I took a job with a large logistics, like Fortune 100 company. And it was one of these jobs where, like, my first day of work, I was totally pumped up. I graduated on Saturday, started on Monday. I was just fired up to take on the world. Walked in the first day and I was like, whoa, this is like terrible. This like totally sucks. Like there was no energy there. My boss was just okay. He just wasn't a very good inspirer guy. And so anyway, I kind of grinded it out for 2 years at this company. And then finally I kind of hooked back up with one of my partners in Chattanooga. His dad owned a brick company and I was there on some sales calls and I was like, we started talking like, heck, we could do this on our own, couldn't we? And we said, yeah, let's do it. And so literally kind of started it in a closet in kind of a really rough part of Chattanooga, rough part of the neighborhood in Chattanooga. And I just, I kind of had two goals when I started the company. Number one, I wanted to be the best place in America to work because I knew if we could be the best place in America, we'd have the most positive people. And I know positive people are productive people. But two, I wanted to be $100 million company. And my partner, Barry, was like, all right, let's do it. He's like our CFO. He's like, all right, crazy man, let's go for it. And so it was very just, I've always read a lot of motivational stuff and I've always been, I've tried to be very positive and fill myself up with stuff like that. But, we'd come to work really early and it didn't matter. I mean, whatever it took to offer customer service for our customers and also the trucking companies we worked with, I was going to do it. I mean, my wife and I used to drive around to truck stops and I'd literally like knock on the doors of truck stops and like give them my card, get to know them, be like, hey man, when you deliver that load, give me a call. I'm going to find you another load. And so it was very grassroots, just kind of raw in the beginning, starting the company. But
I love it, and I want to dive deep into that because I think a lot of people out there need to hear about these like grinder days. But what exactly does Access America do for people that aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, so we're basically a broker. We're a freight broker. We're the middleman between trucking companies and manufacturers. And so at our peak, we were working with 45,000 different trucking companies and 3,000 different customers. And my customers was really like people that shipped freight. So we dealt with people that would, manufacture lumber. We did some stuff for like a Coca-Cola bottling plant. We did stuff for, people that made machinery. Anyone that shipped freight, we were going to match it up with a trucking company. So all these trucking companies out there, and if you can believe this in America, 80% of trucking companies have less than 25 trucks. So it's a huge fragmented market. And you've got all these little guys out there that are, they would have a customer and they would ship something from Chattanooga to Atlanta. But when they got to Atlanta, they're like coming back empty. So I would find freight that would match up with and do like a backhaul. And so that was kind of my gig, was just getting all these small guys backhauls. And so as we grew the business, we basically just aggregated all these small trucking companies around America together into a big force, and kind of had like our huge fleet or whatever.
Got it. And today, I mean, I'm sure you have like a lot of software in place that tells you where loads are that aren't filled and that kind of stuff. But I mean, how did you find trucks in the early days that didn't have a load coming back?
And so it was insane. I mean, like I'd be driving around, my partners would be driving. I'd literally see a truck going down the highway, be like, "Oh, write that down." And I'd find it. And this was 2002 when we started. So the internet it was still, it was obviously going, but it wasn't near as advanced as it was then. And so it was a lot of, just trying to find trucking companies, buying lists of different trucking companies, calling them, and just setting them up in our the beginning. My partner Alan, was a couple years down the road. He started kind of developing some neater stuff. He ended up helping to create a software that's kind of like Travelocity or Expedia for freight. So basically, you'd put in like an origin zip, destination zip, class, and weight, and you'd get different trucking companies kind of bidding on your freight. And so that was kind of one of our segment of our business, especially for like less than truckload LTL stuff. But it was very just, anybody I could find that would talk to me and do a load for me, I'd go help book their trucks.
That's awesome. I honestly, sometimes I wonder if maybe it's just my generation. I'm a little bit younger than you, but I think sometimes like some of the entrepreneurs out there I talk to, when I hear stories like this of you literally going up to people in restaurants and asking them where they're going and trying to get their information so you can then call them and try to sell them, I just don't see people with that kind of hustle these days as frequently.
I would completely agree. And it's so interesting, like, and we'll kind of dive into this more, but it seems like a lot of these people that I've met, they kind of get, I don't know if it was the movie, The Social Network or whatever, but it's like this sexy Silicon Valley, these terms, Series A, seed funding, convertible debt, blah, 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 blah. Like, to me, like the words that matter are discipline, dedication, and hustle, and grit, and integrity. Those are the things to me that like really helped us build our business. Cause I feel like there's so many like fake post-revenue businesses that, try to get a lot of users and just try to flip it like a year or two or whatever. So I'm kind of all about, I kind of don't focus on building startups. I focus, not me, but my partners and I focus on building businesses.
Yeah, I love it. I love the word grit. Like, talk about some of the gritty things that you had to do in the early days.
It was, I look back and like, I would legitimately, and I've called customers for 7 years straight, every month, or maybe even every week. But for 7 years, I would continue to hammer the phones to try to get in with customers. I've mailed a shoe to a guy before And I wrote a note like, hey, I got one foot in the door. Help me get another foot in the door. I've done whatever it takes to try. I mean, like we go to trade shows and like people were scared to see us at trade shows because we were like, we would literally, when I go to a trade show, we would have people standing in the middle of the aisle. So you'd have to walk by us. We weren't like hiding behind the aisle on a phone. We were the most aggressive people on earth. I mean, we were straight out just warriors going out trying to get business. And it's, it didn't matter, whatever it took. I mean, we would, I had a brutal schedule early on. And, it's not like I've really slowed that down that much, but we're constantly, whatever a customer needs. We kind of coined a term, one of my top guys at Access America called fast muscle twitch. And basically we are just whatever a customer needs, whenever, like if you sent us a text, you get a text back in like 2 seconds with your answer. And so we were so much faster than our competition, no matter what, we were going to get back with them with an answer if it was right or not. And so that's what that's built into our DNA. And what's cool is it's kind of, that is kind of just gone throughout all of our other companies here at Lamppost. Everyone kind of seems to kind of take after some of the stuff that we've done in place, and kind of we've kind of put it into all of our existing businesses we've invested in.
Yeah, the culture of your company is really fascinating to me because I heard, again, I'm the type of guy that does my homework. I'll try to listen to some other interviews before I come on and talk to people. And you talked a little bit about being fearless in the workplace and celebrating mistakes.
Oh yeah,
which is freaking awesome, dude. So let's talk about this concept because I don't think a lot of people out there necessarily have this mindset.
So when we get hung up on a phone, we will tell what happened, and then it's like, who cares? Let's do it again. I mean, it is like this whole like we don't give a damn. It's actually funny. I mean, we have people that I could call right now, and they're like, "Hey, Ted Allen from Access America, no, thank you." Click, and I'm like, I think it's hilarious. Like at some point, I'm going to break that person down. Like that's how my whole mind is. Like I'm never going to quit until they give me business. And that's what's happened. I mean, like I can look back at some huge major accounts that we've landed in the last couple of years. And guess what? Fridays, 4:55, they finally give you a call. Hey, guess what? This company dropped the ball. Ted, here's your shot. You've called me for 3 years. Yes, sir, it's taken care of. Don't worry about it. Thanks. Where do I pick it up? That's my response. And then I'll hang up and be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I mean, somehow it didn't matter. In fact, like we would charter planes. Literally, we had a load from Tennessee to California. We ended up chartering a freaking cargo plane. We lost $37,000 on one load just because we committed to the customer and said we'd do it. And so that's the type kind of excellence that we try to instill in our customer service people. And that we would, and like I loved it. They're like, hey, Ted, I just lost $37,000 on a load. I'm like, hell yeah, that's incredible. That is so badass. And so we had it was such a neat culture, and that's one of the things that really grew us. We had 3 employees with company logo tattoos, like no lie, like big ones. We had a deal in Minneapolis is one of my biggest offices. We had 170 employees up there. We did a polar plunge this year. We've done it for the last like 4 years, and I've got inducted the second year. But we out of like 170 employees jumping into the freezing ice, and it was for Special Olympics, I think we had 155 people show up. I mean, that's just like total commitment. Everybody's in. We're following our leader up there, and he's in. We're all in. And so that's what really kind of helped us build the business. Is like we're on the front lines. One of our best managers, he refuses to take an office. He will strategically put himself in the middle of all of his coworkers. And this is not a lie, he's 6'4", big, tall, white Norwegian guy. He sprints everywhere. Like if he wants to get a coffee, he's running. If he wants to go to a fax machine, he's running. Everywhere he goes has like this sense of urgency. And so you're some, young 22-year-old kid. You're like, there's my 42-year-old boss sprinting in the office. And he doesn't have an office, and he doesn't play golf, and he doesn't fish. All he does is like to work, and he outworks everyone here. That's so motivating in a leader to see somebody that's willing to freaking bust his ass that much to, grow a business.
Yeah. The tone comes from the top down, and it sounds like from the beginning, and I'm reading this book right now that you would love, dude. It's called The SEAL's Way. Think and lead like a Navy SEAL. This guy, Mark Divine, who actually I'm having on the podcast tomorrow, the author of the book, talks about the time where he was in BUD/S and he had to do they were trying to break him down and they said that you have to do 1,000 burpees. Do you know what a burpee is?
Oh God. Yeah. They're hell.
Yeah. Yes. So he said, you got to do 1,000 of these. And he made the decision before he started the burpees that he was going to do two things. One, he was either going to do it or die. So failure was not an option. And the second thing is that he was going to have fun while he did it. He was going to make it fun. When it sucked, he was going to laugh. And he tells a story of when he got to the 700th rep, he literally could not feel his body anymore. And he just, the coping mechanism that he used to deal with that type of strain on his body was laughing and just saying, I'm going to have fun. And he just started laughing and grinning. And that got him through another 100 reps. And his instructor appreciated his mental toughness so much that he said, you're done. Great job. And it sounds like with your sales calls, I mean, with the attitude that you've taken at the company, it's failure's not an option. And we're going to have a hell of a good time, whether people want to be a part of it or not.
That's right. I love it, man. I'm going to have to listen to that. That's awesome. And read that book.
Absolutely. Another unique thing that I wanted people to hear about was this fantasy football style competition run within Access America.
Sure. So this is kind of cool. Alan, my partner, who kind of helped develop some of that other software, he kind of created a crude fantasy football site probably a couple years ago. And out of that, a team here at Lamppost has kind of went like 10 next levels to it. And he is basically they've created a company called Ambition. And Ambition actually was at Y Combinator here this last month and has just absolutely killed it. But basically, it is team-based. Like, you'd have like 3 people in a pod here playing 3 people in like, Birmingham or whatever. And we look at 7 metrics for our business, but everything's got, email, phone calls, number of time on the phone, number of loads, profit, percentage of profit. And so each company kind of has different metrics they look at, but basically they've turned it into a fantasy football. And it has just really blown up. And in fact, Access America used this, and our phone calls in 1 month went from 15,000 outbound phone calls to 22,000 in 1 month. I mean, we're making an extra 7,000 phone calls a day because it's all based on competition. And these teams have their own fantasy football page. They have like their own smack talking deal. And people are like staying late on Friday nights to like win the game and like work harder. And it's all just because, we hire a lot of type A competitive people that, don't want to lose. And it's all about just like getting an extra W in the column. And it's fascinating to look at. And this company is one of the rising stars in the startup world, really in the whole country. But they've done a really good job of building the company, and it's really just it's helped Access America grow the last couple of years.
What advice would you give to people in a position that maybe the particular task they're doing is not fun, but it's moving the company forward? I mean, it seems like you've really mastered this idea of making things fun in the workplace that usually suck, and thus increasing the output of your company and really getting an edge.
Yeah, so that's a great question, because this is a office job. I mean, you're sitting at a desk all day, a lot of phone calls, a lot of just grind. And we have, one, the Ambition product definitely helps, but 2, there's a lot of camaraderie. I mean, we've got, we've got folks on softball teams, bowling teams, basketball teams. I'm doing always kind of crazy stuff. I had Bring Your Instrument to Work Day where it was kind of interesting. It was pretty fascinating. People brought in guitars and basses and, mandolins, and I kind of had somebody come in that was kind of a leader that helped like play a bunch of music, and people were like, damn, we brought in beer. People were like, this is freaking awesome. This is an awesome place to work. And I brought in a guy from out of state. He brought in like 60 jumbi drums, like the African drums. And this guy does like corporate training type stuff, but he broke us into like different sections, and we'd all be playing a different part of he'd give us a beat to play. And people were like, what has Ted done now? By the end of it, everyone was sweating, and it was just like jacked up, energized, because they said, it was interesting. The guy was like, dude, he's like, I've never seen a group come together so strong. He said, you guys have the beat and the pace that you have is like a war chant. He goes, this is like not like normal places. And so it was really just all about, I look at companies and it's funny. I can feel like energy or like the soul or the vibe of a company, and just kind of walk through and feel the energy and see if people are excited or not. And so Access America, we had 8 different branches, and you could walk in each office and kind of feel what the vibe was. And it all was kind of whoever the manager was, kind of is how the other employees were. And I see that at all of our startups here at Lamppost. We've got, I guess, 11 startups, and you can see who the founders are and see their personality and see it in every single company.
I want to talk about how on an individual basis you were able to accomplish this, because I think this is awesome advice for companies, but a lot of people out there are just grinding it out in the early days of their startup that are listening to this.
Okay. And they're just like, this sucks ass or whatever. Exactly.
Like what types of mindset, what things did you tell yourself to push through?
So I'm crazy goal oriented person. I set up, and it's funny. I was looking at some stuff this weekend. I set goals for myself. Really, it started at an early age. My dad, when we were in 7th grade, we started every Sunday after church. He'd get out a notepad and we'd sit down and set up goals for like, kind of physical, spiritual, and like school, or now, I'd use business or whatever. But I'm really big about setting, year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. And, every year I set them up, and I got kind of a accountability group with some folks that are kind of same peer age and kind of same demographic. And we sit down and go over those things and hold each other accountable. And so I kind of, I think you kind of need to know where you're headed in life, because if you're just showing up every day and you're just kind of counting the clock and doing your job, you just don't have much purpose. And so I'm about trying to put stuff down and being like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. And so I'm actually moving to London here, taking a year sabbatical with my family, and I've just kind of started setting my London goals for myself. And it's like people that I want to meet, stuff that I want to do daily, stuff, just things that I want to happen in the next year. And I know I'm going to track that into my life because I'm putting it down on paper and it's going to become real. And I just have this old mindset of like, because I think if you just come to work and you're just kind of, counting the clock, you have no direction. And so I'm trying to help myself just stay on task. Something that I kind of tell my kids, you're either like, and I think I heard Nick Saban say it, who's like the best college football coach of all time, Roll Tide. But he says, you're either investing time or you're spending time. And so I kind of use that, I just think about my day. How much day am I screwing around on Twitter and Facebook when I should be, reading or writing down like a plan? And I kind of tell that to I've got 3 young kids, when they're playing their Wii or their, Nintendo DS. I'm like, all right, you spending time or you're investing time? And so it's all about trying to help make yourself better in whatever way you can, and whatever's important to you and which direction you want to go.
How important is the why for those goals?
For me, it's big time. And it's funny. I've kind of known what my why is, but I kind of woke up about 2 weeks ago in the middle of the night and just kind of wrote it down, like what my why is to me. And I believe, so I'll just kind of tell it on air here, baby. I think my why is I try to help other people believe in themselves. And people have told me that I'm pretty good at like saying, hey, Ted, I never thought I was that good, but you kind of pumped me up and motivated me to kind of see stuff that I didn't see in myself. And so I'm just trying to help other people kind of get what and Zig Ziglar is a really famous guy that I used to listen to his tapes a lot and think highly of. But he said, if you can just help enough people in life get what they want, you can have anything you want. And that's really just kind of what my motivation in life is, trying to help whoever I can. It doesn't matter, who it is really. It's trying to help them get what they want in their lives. And that's and it seems to have been working out pretty well so far.
I'd say so. What type of things do you do to inspire and change these people's belief structures? Because that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, no, it's not. I had a meeting with a guy today. We went and grabbed coffee, and he wants me to help kind of mentor him. But I go and listen a lot, I think. I try not to give like direct advice to people, but talk from like experiences and not say, hey, you need to go move and do this, or you need to, stop doing this, do that. I kind of say, hey, just kind of relate it to an experience that I have when I'm talking to people and be like, hey, from, at a point in my life, this kind of happened to me, and just kind of tell them the story, and that's kind of worked out well. It's just kind of because we've had, we're still really young, but we've had a lot of battle scars. We've started other companies that have failed, and we've been successful in a lot of ways, but a lot of things we've failed at. And so I've tried to pay the dumb tax for, I've paid a lot of dumb tax and just kind of help other people maybe not, have to run into the same struggles we had before.
Absolutely. I think one of the best things you can do to inspire people, especially for somebody like yourself, when you see this amazing resume and credentials, it seems like all peaches and roses now.
Yeah.
But along the way, there had to be times where you guys made a giant mistake or had a failure, and yet you were able to persevere and bounce back. I think it would be really motivating and inspirational right now if you could share one of your failures and maybe what you learned and how you changed afterwards.
Man, there's so many. We at one point tried to start like a warehouse company, and we ended up renting a huge warehouse in Birmingham. And it was really expensive, like at that point in the company. I mean, it could have sank the whole company. And we were definitely cocky going into it, or just, very confident. And I swear I've never in my life, never called or sold harder for that warehouse than I have anything on earth. Literally, it was I mean, I had a whole another job running, the logistics company, but I was finding a way to make 50 to 100 phone calls every day just to try to help fill up that warehouse. And we lost mega money on it. And stuff that I learned from that, we probably didn't have the right team. And at Lamp Post, we just invest in teams to kind of, at Lamp Post, we don't just invest in sole entrepreneurs. We have to get a team around them. And that's worked for us just really because two of the partners and I are like complete opposites. I mean, Barry's our CFO. He's complete the CFO basically, which I'd be completely broke if I didn't have him. And then Alan is the operations guy. So the three of us have sales, networking, finance, and operations. We just happen to be best friends. We didn't even know that going into it. So we really kind of investing in teams. Also, I think I was like diverting my time trying to do two things. And I think when you're starting a startup, I talk to people all the time that, I've got a full-time job, but I'm doing a startup on the side. Like, no, that's not going to work. It is like you have to sit down, wake up, and think about that startup all day. And you've got to just push all of the chips across the table and be like, okay, I'm in. Doesn't matter. Failure is not an option. Like, I'm not going to fail. And so I think when we were trying to do the warehouse and the logistics thing we couldn't do both. I think we would have, if we would have just focused on one, it probably would have worked, or hired a team to help kind of run it. It would have probably worked, but ended up, it was so funny. Like it's kind of like getting hung up on. Like, we love to fail too. Like, it's just like, oh my gosh, we learned so many good lessons from that, and it helped. We learned some skills and some expertise trying to run that warehouse. It helped us go land some other mega like Fortune 100 companies. And if we would have never tried to do the warehouse thing, it wouldn't have led to, some of these big accounts that helped grow the company.
Let's talk a little bit about Lamppost and your shift from operator to investor, incubator of different companies. You say you invest in teams and you invest in people, but what are you really looking for in the team?
That's a great question. It's the same type energy. It's the same type motivation. One of our team, the guys from Ambition, like they hawked their school, his like high school ring to raise some extra money to like hire some company in India to like build his thing. It's just like this complete devotion and passion for what they're doing. And like, you could just feel it when you talk to somebody about how into their company they are. And cause we all, we kind of say this, we don't always just invest in the idea. It's all about the people running the deal. And we've had a ton of good ideas coming here. And we've had people just pivot and like totally do something different than what they said they're going to do. And we've just seen the resilience of some of these entrepreneurs that have come in and kind of change courses. And you got to be able just to innovate with what your customer needs. And so it's definitely different being a mentor than running a company. And I'm doing a lot more mentor stuff now. And we focus a lot on founder dynamics and making sure that the founders know what they need to be focusing on and kind of helping to steer them in a certain direction.
What's a common founder dynamic pitfall that you see?
Something that I think is super important and a lot and you'll see a lot of folks, especially maybe some of the CEOs, that they use the word I a lot, and they need to, and I've quickly said, hey, that's not going to work. Everything is we. Everything is a team. If there's a problem, you take credit. If there's a success, you give the credit. But it's all about the team. That's all about we. This is the direction we're going. There's no I anymore. And so that's some of the younger folks have, because they've come in and they've just got to have to realize it's not all about them. It's about the team and just putting the team first in everything.
It's really good advice. I want to know, I guess, I think your story is so interesting because like most of the people that I interact with are going after the same industries. They're building software for everybody from marketing companies to, trying to reach consumers. They're not going after things like logistics that I think there's just gaping voids in and opportunities for huge businesses. Do you gravitate towards these less sexy industries as an investor?
Yeah. Totally. And I think it's funny. I've had friends coming out of college, a lot of my friends were getting into investment banking and consulting. And I said I was going to work for a, trucking logistics company, and they're kind of laughing at me. And I mean, the more and more, it's like there's so much less competition and stuff like this. And then trying to go and be an investment banker, as you know. And so we're all about kind of finding maybe some older dinosaur industries and getting in them and putting in some new tech and some new heart and a lot of energy. And it's been really well. I mean, we've got an insurance company. We actually have a trucking company that I got a contract with the Department of Defense. We haul arms, ammunition, and explosives. And we just, we got into that. Not really knowing much, and now we've become one of the industry leaders in that. We've also got an international logistics company we started less than a year ago, and this year we're on pace to do $7 million in sales. And this is just stuff that people don't necessarily think they want to get into. And all businesses are about people, right? It's not like, and we find we get teams of people that really care and love for each other, and have a good time working together. And we just try to make the workplace fun, And so that's kind of what we like to, gravitate to. We've also got a pretty neat company that it's a moving company. It's called Bellhops, and they're doing collegiate moving. And these guys have just they're absolutely killing it. And they're doing college moving stuff. They've got now they started it 3 years ago, and they started at Auburn University. Today they're at 119 campuses, have over 10,000 bellhops, and this year they're on pace to do like 6 to 8 million. And it's just stuff that no one, I don't think, on the West Coast or East Coast are really thinking about getting into. And that's what we do.
Yeah, I heard a story recently of one of my peers who got into oil and gas, and basically was getting ridiculed because this dude was out like basically surveying land and doing while all his buddies were investment banking, this guy was focused on the energy industry, not really sexy, not in like a financial role, like more like an actual like exploration feet on the soil role. And he started very similar to you, realized that he could start his own company doing what he was doing for this other company. And within 2 years had $100 million company. And again, like there's just not the competition in these industries that there is in a lot of the traditional VC backed software world.
Yep. And we're just going to continue to do that. And it's funny. We've got a company here that one of their goals is to help disrupt Southern businesses with tech. Like that's what they want to do. And they're not into making the next Pinterest or Facebook or whatever. They're about building scalable, solid businesses with good earnings. That's stuff we like to do.
I think that as an investor, those are good things to like. So Ted, you've taught us a lot today. I'm really pumped up because you can this never say die attitude that we've talked about on this call. I mean, it's the key to success. Like you'll eventually find a way if you never give up. What's next for you, man? You're moving to London. I mean, what can we expect?
Oh, that's a good question. So we're really invested hard into Lamppost and Chattanooga in particular, but we're trying to build some kind of global pipelines into our city and to kind of spread the word of what we're doing here, because we think it's pretty special. And a lot of the keys to some of this tech stuff is having outside influences from really all over and just making alliances and building pipelines into our city. And so I'm going to be moving. I'm kind of taking a year off, doing a year sabbatical. I've got an investor visa, which means I'm moving to London for a year. My wife kind of grew up internationally, and we've always talked about doing it. It's a good time for my kids. They're at great ages. They're going to be 10, 8, and 4. And so my kids yet aren't, want to text their friends every 5 minutes, and they're kind of willing to kind of want to move away for a year. So I'm going to move there, probably do some mentoring over there and doing some investing and maybe checking out some different startup scenes around Europe. So that's kind of my big thing. I've also got a super secret startup that I've kind of been thinking about for a while. That's kind of exciting that I can't talk about yet, that I'm kind of exploring a little bit. My wife's like, "Oh, really? You took like a week off?" I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds about right." And so we're kind of doing that possibly on the side, but really kind of focusing a lot on just seeing the world, trying to get my kids some new experiences, and just maybe bringing back some great ideas and some new friends.
That's amazing, man. If you were open to it, I'd love to share one of the questions that you filled out in the questionnaire that kind of is in alignment with this. And I think it's really motivating for me and for everybody listening. But I asked, one of the questions I always ask guests for the show is in a spreadsheet is what can we talk about that will help listeners improve or get an edge in their business and life? And what you said was, wow, so much here. Put your head down and grind. It is hard as hell, but the most rewarding thing in life. Who else gets to determine the future for themselves and their families? And here you are, man, about to set off on a year exploration with your family abroad, just pursuing the things that you want. And you're a young guy, man. And that is really cool. And I want to ask you, because I think this is a question that a lot of us, when it gets really tough, ask ourselves. Was all the grind worth it?
Dude, are you kidding me? I've got like the most ridiculous life on the planet, and it's funny. I mean, we no one really knew who we were for a long time, and we just kind of kept our head down and worked really hard, and we kind of looked up, and we were a $500 million company, and we didn't really care what people thought, and we had a good time doing it, and it was really hard, and very stressful, but man, we had a freaking blast, and and we're going to hope to continue to do this with other companies, and we're trying to live life to the fullest and make a dent in this world, and so it's exciting, man. And I'm kind of wanting to live your life, man, living all over the world and doing some fun stuff and creating cool companies and meeting neat people. That's all really that's fun to me as well.
Well, it sounds like you're about to embark on that journey. One question I always like to ask, and I just want to finish up here, is if you had to give one piece of advice to all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there, all the people that want these rich experiences that you talk about, there's one thing that they could do to get an edge in that journey, what would you say to them? What piece of advice would you give?
And it's really not focus on yourself, which sounds crazy, but it's just like investing so much. You've got to make sure, and we were pretty good about making sure, we say people kind of fire themselves because we ran at such a high speed. But when you find those special people that want to be on the boat with you, is just making them feel so important and making them believe that what you're doing is big, setting a really big goal for yourself, and like just always trying to invest time with them and make sure that they're good and that y'all are good and y'all just like work your asses off. I know that it's not like the most brilliant thing in the world, but that it's like, I think a lot of people want to make it a lot more complicated, but it's really not. Most people in this world are pretty lazy, I think. And I've got two brothers and they both have been really successful too. And so we were very just always very competitive and pushing each other and whatever we do. So that's some advice that I would give. I
love it, man. And I, it's funny. It's like, yeah, it's not original. It's not brain surgery. Work your ass off. Well, dude, the reason you keep hearing that is because it's the truth.
Because it stinks and like it's not that fun always, but like that's the key to successful people. And you talk about Bill Gates, who said he didn't take a day off in his 20s. Like, what? He didn't take one day off, and look where he got himself.
Wow, Ted, where's the best place for people to stay in touch with you, stay up to date with the stuff that you're doing? Where can they find you online?
I've got a blog, just tedalling.com, or I'm on Twitter or LinkedIn are probably the three best places to find me.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to link those up in the show notes. Dude, I'm so glad we connected. Thanks so much for coming on to the show today. You taught us a ton, and really, I'm ready to go out there and kick some butt.
Silent man, I'm telling you're onto it. I spent a lot of time last night on your podcast and look at some of your sales notes and cold calling stuff. And we're going to be friends for a long time. So I'm excited.
Before we finish up with today's Mindshare, I just want to say thanks for listening to another episode of The Competitive Edge. If you enjoyed the ideas in this episode and want access to all the conversations, tactics, and Mindshares we'll be sharing in the future, the best thing you can do is subscribe to The Competitive Edge on iTunes. And while you're there, if you felt like this show has made a positive impact on your day, it'd be great if you could leave us a review on iTunes as well. Now, I know we covered a lot in this episode, and there might be a few key ideas or tools that you want to remember. So we went ahead and compiled all of the notes, links, and even a full searchable transcript of this conversation for you on lifelonglearner.com. That's life-longlearner.com. I also want to give you the details on a cool contest I'm running right now at lifelonglearner.com/fun. By entering the contest, you'll have a chance to win everything from Amazon gift cards to a free month of having your very own dedicated virtual assistant to an opportunity to come and hang out with me and my buds for a few days where we'll teach you how to create your very own passive income stream. To enter this contest and learn more about everything we're giving away, head on over to lifelonglearner.com/fun. Hey, Scott here, coming at you with another Mindshare. So we just got done a very motivating and inspiring conversation with Ted Alling. And I mean, I'm just so jacked up right now. And I think one thing that we didn't get to talk about, which has really helped me in my own life, is this idea of making the decision before you start something. In Ted's case, he made the decision that he was going to succeed no matter what. That failure was not an option. And I think this is something that Tony Robbins taught me. But a lot of times people don't make decisions. They just say that they should do things. And what ends up happening is they should all over themselves. So I should go to the gym. I should start a company. I should continue writing a blog until it becomes wildly successful. I should keep doing podcasts even though I'm not necessarily getting the traction that I want. Whatever it is. That is not making a decision. And because you haven't made the decision, you're not unlocking the power of personal congruence or being consistent with the things that you say you're going to do. So one of the most powerful forces in human behavior and in motivation and just actualizing taking the actions that we want to take is this natural desire of human beings to be consistent with what they say they're going to do. So if I say that I'm going to do something, I'm more likely to actually do that thing. And so what this starts with is first making a decision and saying that you're going to do something. So wherever you are today, whether that's you want to start a business, you want to lose weight, you want to get in better shape, you want to give up drinking, all stuff that I've said to myself in my own life, that is something that you first have to start with by putting a stake in the ground and making a decision. And right now, I'll tell you one that I had in my own life last night. So I've been kind of in grind mode right now, and I've gotten a little bit soft. Like I don't feel like I'm as good a shape as I was. And I have basically a month left in Brazil before I move back to the States for a little bit. And I told myself, you know what, when I come back to the States, like I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to feel great. I want to look great. And I just want to be healthy. I want to have more energy. And I told myself this next month, I'm going to be really good. And I'm making the decision that I'm going to cut certain things out of my diet that I'd be eating that weren't healthy for me. And that's a decision. That is not a should. That's a decision. And it's going to be hard. But I know that I'm more likely to do those things now that I've basically said it out loud, told my friends, and I'm very clear about the stance that I've taken when faced with that particular temptation. Anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed this Mindshare. That's what's on my mind right now. I want you to go out there, have an amazing day. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you soon on the next episode.